with us now. Return with us now, Rod Johnston.
Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear in the radio. From out of the past, from the thundering hoofbeats of the great horse Silver, the Lone Ranger rides again. Hi-yo, Silver! And hi-yo, Madam Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, essential guests, and fans of old-time radio, past, present, and future. It has been said that the true test of an intellectual is that that person can listen to the William Tell Overture and never once think of the Lone Ranger. We never knew what an intellectual was in central Iowa, because every time the strains of Rossini's William Tell Overture filled our living rooms from the Stromberg-Carlson radio, all we could see was the masked rider of the plains, and you have the verb right. I said see, and we're talking about radio, because we knew what the Lone Ranger looked like. I knew what he looked like. My dad knew what he looked like. The kids down the street, they knew what he looked like. They could hear him, so they could see him. And this was the power. This was the influence. This was the magic of old-time radio. And oh, how sorry I am that so many of you missed it. My favorite program was Fibber, McGee, and Molly. It came on Tuesday nights at 8:30 over NBC. And every time the doorbell would ring at that 79 Wistful Vista, you would hear such characters as the old-timer who said, "That's pretty good, Johnny." Or Wallace Wimple who said, "Have you seen my big book?" And every time we'd hear the little voice, "Hi, mister, what you doing? What you doing? What you?" Oh, we saw a little girl, about 5 years old, with a ponytail, eating a lollipop, and an impish grin. We saw that little girl, even though many of us knew that that voice was coming from Molly McGee. Molly McGee was doing the voice of little Teeny, and yet when we heard that voice, we saw Teeny, and this was the magic. This was the influence and the power of old-time radio. And oh, how sorry I am that so many of you missed it. If I were to tell you that the movie theaters on Tuesday night might as well close down if they had not advertised that they would stop the movie so people could listen to the radio, you might find that very hard to believe. But it's true. They'd stop Gone with the Wind, they'd stop Birth of a Nation, they'd stop Wings, so people could tune in on the radio, and it would broadcast through all the theater the misadventures of two adventurous African Americans named Amos and Andy, who were played by two white men. This was the magic. This was the influence, the power of old-time radio. And oh, how sorry I am that so many of you missed it. There was a children's program too. Mothers loved it. Came on 7:30 at that same NBC station, and in Des Moines, Iowa. Uncle Stan and Cowboy Ken. Mothers loved it because it got the children dressed and ready because they had a dressing race. Uncle Stan would tell all of us kids to run, get our clothes on, and run in front of the radio and put up one hand only. And he had this magic eye that could see out over all the radio and see all the audience and see how many boys and how many girls were dressed. And after we counted them in, the girls and the boy, and the girls won. Oh, the girls won the race. The girls won the race. I know the Mario. The girls won. I know what you are thinking. I know what it is that you are thinking. You're thinking Uncle Stan really didn't have a magic eye. He couldn't see out into the radio audience. They can't do that now, you're thinking. Isn't that what you're thinking, O ye of little faith? I have a message for you faithless ones. Uncle Stan did too have a magic eye, and he could too see out into the audience and see how many boys and how many girls were dressed. And I'll tell you how it is that I know. When I was 8 years old, I had a problem. The problem was not that Franklin Roosevelt was getting ready to run for a third unprecedented term. My problem was the girls had won the dressing race twice in a row, and if I didn't do something, they were going to win an unprecedented third in a row. And as a very good 8-year-old chauvinist pig, I could not let this happen. So when I got up that morning, I put on my knickers and my tennis shoes and sweatshirt and stood in front of the radio, put up one hand, and then I put up another hand. I know I was cheating, and I've not told a soul about this until this moment. Uncle Stan turned his magic eye on. I see you. And the girls and the boy, say, who's that boy out there with 2 hands in the air? Now you see, you thought it was all fake. This was the magic. This was the power. This was the influence, the mystique of old-time radio. And how happy I am that I've been able to take you back just for a few moments to those golden radio days of yesteryear.